Can you guess the most unfriendly state in the union? This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is the URL for all things focus group related, including our Tuesday podcast Unbutton, available on Tuesdays, and of course our main show. And you'll learn all about me and Tim there. So, welcome to the new week. We are now speeding through the year, halfway through February, and I want to say winter is losing its grip, but not quite yet.
No, not quite yet, but hopefully soon. This is the first year where we've had a lot of snow, at least if you're in the Northeast, and I don't particularly care for it this year. I always said I always want snow around for
Christmas,
between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I want snow, and then I'm done.
You're such
by
a
the time
Norman.
New Year's comes, I want spring.
You're a very Norman Rockwell kind of guy. I want snow when I want snow, and then I want green when I want green. Yeah.
December 24th, I would love a storm and a sleigh ride, and on the 26th, I want daffodils.
So not to go into politics too much, but this week the Supreme Court, without dissent, is allowing the Attorney General of the state of New York access to Trump's tax records.
What are they going to find?
But I don't know, but I you remember, it's long in our past, but I remember watching the movie The Untouchables, which was about Elliot Ness and how they brought down Al Capone, and they brought him down basically with accounting, right? Like tax cheat. You got to wonder, right? Like if anything's going to trip up the Trump train, could it possibly be that? I don't know.
Well, I'm surprised it's taken this long for them to get them. I thought I thought it was a little easier process. And what's happening with your governor? Governor Cuomo, I thought he was going to be a superstar, but now they're saying that I guess he plays mean, and they said this is really pro forma, I guess. And your mayor, de Blasio, seems to be piling right on. I guess there's no love lost between those two. Huh?
They don't like each other at all, and
No.
And so what Tim's talking about goes back to early on in the event. The CDC had issued guidelines where convalescing patients could be moved into long-term care facilities or nursing homes, which ended up being not good guidance, but states followed it. Ours did too, New York. And many people passed away as a result of that because of the infection spreading. And now the state is looking into the numbers of individuals that were reported as deceased from these homes, and it appears that the Cuomo administration may not have released all the data. Maybe they didn't have all the data, but either way, this is what's the term we love? Schadenfreude. For
Right.
all of the enemies of the governor, this is any little misstep, and they are knives out, right?
Were they saying that he undercounted or overcounted, or what was the deal? Or that he
undercounted and possibly had data that didn't get released and may not be released. It's kind of I've been following it kind of closely. It's a mystery to me, but I will say this.
Right.
The enemies are legion. I had no idea that there was a lot of people that really, really didn't like him. And he does have a style of playing tough, playing hardball, right?
Hardball, and then that's what happens. Well, it's like our friend Mr. Cruz. He's in trouble too.
Let's go to Cancun.
Whoever thought it would be a good idea to take a vacation when your state's under a problem?
And everybody's boiling water. They have no electricity. Let's go to Cancun. Hey, his wife Heidi, I don't disagree with her. Let's get out of here. We have $300 a night rooms down in Mexico. But he comes back, and then he's handing out water, and then he was doing helping out a volunteer fire department or something. I saw him cutting steak. I was like, what? And it's. Yeah, you and I have said this before. I can see why people tune it out and turn it off after a while, because it just seems to be one wheel that spins, and it's the same old story over and over, right?
On a happier note, though, speaking of 45, I read they were so somebody was, a lot of people are flapping their gums now. So apparently 45 used to like to eat in bed. watch a lot of TV, and eat in bed. And so one of the butlers was saying what his typical order would be in bed, what he would order from fast food.
Can we guess?
Do you have any guess? He loved McDonald's.
Would it be like a quarter pounder with cheese and?
No, but he did order from McDonald's. So do you know what he would order?
No.
I'm surprised he wasn't 10,000 pounds.
Like a McFlurry? 10
So
McFlurries?
he would order 2 Big Macs, 2 filet. If this was his typical order, that he would sit and eat in bed and watch TV at night. 2 Big Macs, 2 Big Macs, 2 filet of fish, and a big chocolate shake.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Huh?
Does a Big Mac contain 2 patties of beef?
Yes. Yeah. So, well, it's 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
So we got 4
patties.
4 patties of meat. And
4
we have 2
all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce. Yeah.
including 4 pieces of bread, all the other stuff on it, and the fish fillets, which brings us up to 8 pieces of bread. And you said
6 pieces of bread because there's 3 in each Big Mac.
Oh, you're right. You're
so
right.
That's
It's
6,
the
7,
middle.
8, 9, 10 pieces of bread.
4 beef patties and 2 fish fillets, and then a chocolate shake on top of it. Oh my
Big chocolate
God!
shake. Now they didn't say anything about fries. I assume the fries come with it, but I don't know. But I thought, how is he not? Now, first of all, nobody likes fast food more than me, and of course, I haven't had it, and I can't tell you when the last time. I usually would get it if I drove out to. When I would go out to my college homecoming, that was my treat for taking the 6-hour drive to Ohio. I would stop and I would get McDonald's or something along the way. But I haven't had fast food in a long time, and I'm always tempted to just stop and go through the drive-thru to get something and say, well, I'll just get a double cheeseburger and I won't get the French fries. But it's cheaper to buy the meal. It's cheaper to buy the bundle than it is to buy the one thing.
In other words, you go up, you say, I want number 4.
Right, because then you're going to, and it's a large fry and it comes with, the drink and the blah, blah, blah. But if you just buy the one thing, it ends up being more than just buying the bundle. But I end up not doing it. I always think it's a good idea, and then I think about it, and I don't do it because after you eat it, you feel like, oof.
Why?
But the last time I think you and I had stuff, we were in Florida. I think you and I went, was it Florida or California? You and I went through late night after going out somewhere. It was Florida, and we had
Andrew.
I think we had Andrew with us, and we had gone through the drive-through and did McDonald's, but then, oof. It's salty, but it was good.
Tim, I do think that you're correct, and I believe that was the last time I actually had fast food. And you know how many years ago that was?
Well, I will say maybe not, although I had fast food, you did not. You and I drove cross-country for Volkswagen, and you had asked for the salad in New Mexico. At the McDonald's, and they looked at
Tim
you.
was so
First of
pissed
all,
off.
And I'm a big guy, and I was probably the lightest person in there by 100 pounds. Right before the Wigwam Hotel, we had pulled in there, and Mr. Nash was trying to stay thin and fit for the pool party at the Luxor Hotel. I ended up getting, I forget what I got, but it wasn't
something
a
simple.
salad.
You didn't go crazy. Yeah,
I didn't go crazy, but you ended up looking for the salad, and they looked and looked and looked and looked. They had to go back into the reserve refrigerator outside, I think, to find the salad.
He blew the dust off
John,
the salad.
Look where we are. Look where we are. Look at these people. No
It was
one's
only
ordered a
after, by
salad
the way,
here.
it was only after I got it and we were eating outside by Playland, whatever that was, that you said, by the way, they had to go back, and I'm not even sure why you're eating that. Well, there you go. Anyway, my friend.
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Okay, let's see. So the this headline I thought was interesting. The headline is "Revenge Spending and Vaccinations Could Bring Millions of Shoppers Back to the Mall, but Will They Stay?" So you and I have talked a lot about what has happened with the event in terms of people shopping and how their shopping habits have changed pretty dramatically, and what's going to happen with all this real estate that has taken up just about every suburb or just every part of our life culturally as Americans with the mall and what goes on at the mall and how our shopping habits have changed in terms of people now really living online, right? People are ordering things online and getting things online. But there's a number of analysts and a number of people who own a lot of these large shopping malls that are pretty bullish in saying that they think that the mall will come back, but it's not going to come back as we remember it. And they think there's a lot of pent-up demand for people, what they're calling revenge shopping. And these are people that are going to want to really go out. And I've heard you say this in certain ways, but they say that people are going to want to go out to either go to their favorite restaurants or go to their favorite stores just to be out with people, or go to their favorite fitness club, or just be out and about. And so they think that this pent up demand is going to happen. The hope is that it'll happen, and rather than it being individually, for instance, I know you joined a club and you were a member of a club in the city, or if there was a favorite restaurant you had in the city, what these malls are doing now is they're trying to attract those things to fill the void of stores that have left the malls, because a lot of malls have lost stores. So what they're doing, and they're using this downtime, as they call it, because there's a number of these big holding companies said in globally as many as 50% of their malls have remained closed. So what they're doing is they're adding things like Whole Foods grocery stores. They're adding outdoor restaurants. They're adding more entertainment-focused venues. They're adding Uber and Lyft areas. They're adding additional sort of grocery centers or places where people can, they call it quiet zones, or places where people can recharge or plug in computers and do some sort of work stuff. They're in some cases adding hotels. They're adding places to plug in electric vehicles. They're bringing in places that they're calling digitally native companies, such as Casper, Warby Parker, and Peloton, which were normally things you would buy online. And so what they're taking, a lot of these, they said the traditional mall, which usually had these anchor stores, are not going to be anymore. That they're going to replace them with more affordable stores, more entertainment-oriented things, and more places where people can feel connected. And so that's what they're hoping is going to keep people there. And then one thing, which was my idea many, many years ago, I tried to convince Subaru to do it. Everybody thought I was crazy. When Woolworth was going out of business, I said we should take all those stores and make them Subaru all-wheel drive centers and showcase the cars and showcase the products. And so what's happening now in a lot of locations in California, the new company called Lucid Motors, which is a competitor to Tesla, an electric car company, is setting up automotive studios in a lot of these places that have gone out at the malls. And they're showcasing in automotive studios what their products look like in these luxury showrooms in the malls so people can see them, which I think is a brilliant idea, of course. My idea. Back in the day, but nobody listened.
So basically, some of these stores you mentioned are going to be like just showrooms. So like
Right.
when you look at Casper and some of these other online-only things, it's basically a place to go look and feel and touch the product. You could maybe even order it online there, but you're not going to walk out of the store with it. It will be delivered.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those, but I think what this seems to be is that yes, it's more of, I don't want to say it's a museum, but it's more of a destination where you could go shopping. You can go to Whole Foods, you could go look at things, and maybe order things there and have them delivered to your house. But it's more of a information entertainment complex more than let me go to the mall and get something. And so when they add the hotels, and some of them are adding apartments, some of them are adding schools. They're adding either community colleges or some sort of adult education schools.
I think it's a fascinating thing, frankly. I think this is a cool article you pulled up.
Yeah, they're really trying to reinvent themselves, and they said this is actually giving them the downtime, and they're really trying to modernize them, get rid of the fluorescent, and this has given them some downtime that they didn't expect. Because of the event to kind of reinvent themselves. And so we'll see what happens. The hope is that we're all going to be itching to get out and want to travel and want to see people again and want to communicate or want to be around people again. And but we're just going to do it differently.
Well,
that's their hope.
The Times had an article this morning. It was like, I think the headline was something like, I smell a boom coming. And a lot of economists think that what the uptick they were suspecting might occur is going to be enormous based on the amount of cash people are sitting on, the pent-up demand for services and doing exactly what you said, being around other people. I like this reinvention of the mall thing, by the way. It would never have worked at our old mall, Naugatuck Valley
No,
Mall.
and I don't think it would have worked unless we had something as drastic as what happened that was unplanned. I think
Agreed.
If you plan to do this and say we're going to get rid of Macy's and JCPenney and put in a Whole Foods and try to convince people to come to the mall for something different, it wouldn't have worked. But because we were forced to do it, I I think it has a chance of succeeding. So we'll see what happens.
Adaptation, yeah. Hey, so coming up later in the broadcast, probably in our second half, we have an article we want to talk about where you can actually check your email address to see if it's been hacked or pawned, they call it. We'll go into that and give you those terminologies. And then we mentioned at the top of the show that there are some unfriendly states, and they did a survey, and they've got the list of unfriendly states. I'm not sure about the data, but we'll delve into it. So for what caught my eye, I was surprised by this and somewhat, dismayed at the same time. But basically the headline is this: sorry, millennials, the laughing, crying emoji isn't cool anymore.
Uh-oh.
So bad news for people who frequently use it's the emoji with the eyes squeezed shut and the tears coming out of the side, and there's a big laugh on it. In recent weeks, two internet-savvy generations have been clashing in videos and comments on TikTok. Well, I'm not there clashing. Over the hallmarks of millennial culture that are now deemed uncool by Gen Z. The list includes skinny jeans, verdict, set them on fire, side parts, I don't know what that means, for middle part or bust, and perhaps most painful of all, the popular laughing, crying emoji that some millennials, myself included, who's the writer of the piece, use hundreds of times a day. Turns out that the kids think that if you're using the laughing, crying emoji, you're old, and they have now switched. So
what are they using, I wonder?
They're using a skull. So now for many Gen Zers, the skull emoji has become a popular replacement for conveying laughter. It's the visual slang for something like I'm dead, or you're killing me, like I'm dying here, which signifies something is very funny. When they delve down into this and they started looking at who was using what and how they're using them, it really came down to kids stop using emojis when they see their parents using them. So they interviewed one kid, one millennial, and he's like, you know what? I saw my parents using it all the time, the laughing, crying thing. He goes, and my older siblings. So I just thought, well, we got to get away from that.
Well, I love this, John, because I can't wait. Because Marianne always says you and I are, we're behind the times. She uses this all the time. I can't wait to let her know she's old.
She uses and they claim if you put them in a row, which is what a lot of people do, that even says you're older. That definitely telegraphs that you're practically, in a wheelchair.
3 minutes before we came on air, she sent me one.
Did she really?
From Marietta with about 15 of those little things. Here's my problem with these emojis in general. You've got better eyes than me. I can't see them.
Well, they're very tiny, and unless I happen to agree with you. Like, I have friends who will send me an emoji and then just the one, so when it comes in, it's big, and then they'll send the text after it. But the minute it's got text, it's the same size as the letters. Another emoji that is now definitely hitting the skids for the kids, it's called the rolling on the floor laughing. It's the same one I described to you about the eyes shut and the tears coming up, but it's tilted sideways.
Right.
It's no longer in vogue. When asked about that emoji over video call, a millennial said, I don't like that one. My mom doesn't even use it. So I guess we have to all be very careful of our little emojis, right?
Wow.
As we move forward.
Well, good to know.
Now we have so that was mine. It's really quick. I think the mall thing is fascinating, especially when you look at all that real estate that is covered with retail space, aka a mall. And now we have crying emoji can't be used because if you use it, you're probably old. Really quick one before we go to break in our first part of the show here, and that is this thing. I sent Tim the article, and the headline reads, "Resisting the urge to pet Panasonic's farting robot sock cat might be impossible." That might be all we need to say. But Panasonic crowdsourced this thing called Nikobo. And basically, it's someone flipped a bowl over, gave it some animated eyes, a wagging tail, and then wrapped it in an old sock. And it's supposed to be a cat. What did you think of this piece when I sent it to you?
I want to get it. I mean, I love the Japanese. They always have these sort of things. So that apparently this... it mutters some words, and then every once in a while, when it's not in a good mood, it'll fart at you, right?
Yes, and then after a month or two, you have to start paying a subscription price to have Nikobo operate correctly. And Panasonic actually said, well, that's actually like owning a pet, because you got to buy food and stuff for it. So I just thought this thing was like, the lab. Okay, let's go into the corporate world and let's go to the lab where they're inventing things to sell. And someone comes up with a sock cat that farts and they put it into the C-suite. They're like, guys, we got a winner here. If we could crowdsource, by the way, you can't even get it. When they put the crowdsourcing up, I think they were going to make, did they give a number here? They said they were going to make 320 of them, and each cost $360.
Right.
They crowdsourced, they were looking for 10 million yen, which is about $95,000. And they met their goal very quickly. So the first 350 units of Nikobo are actually spoken for, right?
Yeah. No, they crowdsource. I used to collect. I like it because, and I like that it speaks, and it probably speaks Japanese, which I always got a kick out of. So when I used to travel to Japan all the time, every time I went, I would pick up a Japanese alarm clock, and usually a kid's alarm clock because it spoke to you.
Yelled at you.
So I have about 15 of these things. And the Japanese, I used to ask them what they would say. I'd bring them into the office, and they would always look at me with this nasty face and say they couldn't understand it because it was bad Japanese. It was done in Korean. And
it's so nasty.
And so I would collect these. So I would like this just because I'm sure it probably mutters in bad Japanese. And so I always just find that sort of funny. So, yeah, I would probably get one, though. I like the idea of it.
Nikobo, go ahead.
I have one quick thing, too, before we go to break that a listener sent us about PETA. We remember we did our PETA story?
Yes.
So it's kind of animal related, too. So apparently, you talked about PETA saying you're not allowed to call somebody a snake or a rat or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they've gone one step further now. And they also don't want you to call your dog or your cat a pet. You're not allowed to say any type of animal is a pet because that's considered derogatory.
Oh, boy.
So for now on, you're supposed to call any of your pets an animal companion.
You know,
Joe. So our listener Joe had sent this and said, I don't know if you saw this, but PETA's back at it again.
Thank you,
and
Joe.
I said, no, we did not. I said, but we'll sure mention it. I said, I just can't believe this. I said, they've done a great job of getting themselves publicity. Mm-hmm. And certainly they keep themselves in the news. But so apparently having pets or saying that something is a pet is a derogatory term, and you need to say it's an animal companion. So.
Gosh,
I don't know what you feel about that.
Never would have thought of it because I don't think of pet as being derogatory, especially since I've had pets. I've had companions. You've had companions. Oh my God!
Crazy.
All right, yeah,
I think it's crazy. So hey, it's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Thanks for being with us. Of course, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have our shop talk segment, and then we have two stories this week, as John had mentioned. The first one is about some data breaches and what you need to do to make sure you're protected with your passwords and so forth. And the second one, we're going to discuss the top 10 most unfriendly states. So stay tuned to see if your state makes the list. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. So stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. The Focus Group, an entertaining look at the outside of business. For your convenience, listen anytime, anywhere, anyway, anyhow, and on anything. Got it? Head over to focusgroupradio.com and pick your poison. We're all business, except when we're not.
Welcome back to the Focus Group, and hello to Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley, because we are available in that area on the iHub Radio Network. It's one of our favorite parts of the country, so it's great that we're out there as well. As promised, we're going to be talking...
Why are we doing the show from out there?
We are, Tim. Do you want to plan on this? Because I think that we remember when John said...
We've talked about it for a long time, haven't we?
But he's got this... We could be out there. We could do it. And I think we need to do it. So as I said before going to break, and Tim refreshed your memories, we're going to have a quick piece about protecting your email or learning if your email and password has been hacked. And then we're going to talk about the most unfriendly states in the union. And of course, focusgroupradio.com is our URL, and that's where you can find out all about Tim and myself and listen into all our media there, including our Tuesday podcast, Unbuttoned, which we would love to have you subscribe to and then like and rate it. So, I found this article. Tim actually just did this during break, and he found out that one of his email addresses had been released to the internet or had come out in a hack, and he had 4 breaches. But the headline reads, "Stop what you're doing and check here to see if your email credentials have been stolen." Data breaches and hacks are a fact of life. We know this. They happen all the time. Recently, there was a huge database dumped on the dark web. I really don't know what the dark web is. I mean, I guess it's just this hidden web. But
It's like a QAnon or whatever they call it.
no, I don't think it's that bunch. But it's, well, you never know.
The dark web.
But, it was a database that had email addresses and passwords. Sometimes the passwords were encrypted. In many cases, the passwords are encrypted. So this article had 2 websites you could visit that will tell you if your email address is floating around on the dark web. Little sidebar for you as an interesting story. Over the holidays, my Apple iTunes account, or my, the Apple account, got locked 4 times over a 3-week period, and I had to go in and answer some private questions, and it was unlocked. What I suspected was somebody had my email address, which a common email address I use for my Apple account. What they don't know, though, is that for Apple account, for banking, stocks, like I have specific, highly secure passwords for those things. And if it's a shopping site where the only way you could ever do any harm is to spend your own money there and not mine, then it's a junk password. But no one could break in. But it reminded me that Bob's like, what's going on? Why is it shut down again? I said, someone's probably trying to buy a gift card or music or something but they couldn't break the password. Have you had that happen with Apple at all?
I have and I forget because I don't buy enough through the Apple site. That is, I sometimes forget what the site is, and then they put you through the machinations to try to
answer the 2 questions. Yeah.
Right. Do you have the 2-step? You have told me to do this. Do you have the 2-step authentication?
I do 2-step verification for
verification.
My Google, which is most of my email, which has been very useful. I haven't done it for Apple yet, but it's for all my Google email, and that's pretty much wiped out any trouble. If you do 2-step authentication is what they call
authentication.
It. Yeah. If you do 2-step for Apple, there are some things you need. 2-factor authentication. I'm sorry. So you sign in, and then they either send you a text message to your phone or they do something else. I had read somewhere that Apple also gave you a one-time use code, and if you lost that code and you couldn't get in, you basically could never get in. And I just thought, I'm not going to do 2-factor. If I lose the piece of paper or something. But so let's see here. Let's do the websites that give you the.
Wasn't there something about Arianna Huffington that wouldn't she download her stuff every night off? She was so paranoid that she would download. Somebody had said she would download and essentially take all her things and put it on a hard drive every night and shut her computer down. And I mean, that was probably a little overkill, but she seemed to be very, very leery and very suspect of people getting her data and getting her information. Do you have the same password across everything?
No.
For different ones?
Yeah, for shopping sites, I have one password I use. For things related to cycling, it's another one. If it's banking, if it's a high level thing like bank stock, at my Apple account.
So that's a good idea. So I never thought of doing that. That's actually a smart idea. So you have them segregated.
Yeah. So I'll know if something goes wrong that it's like, oh, okay. And sometimes, like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but my Amazon password is so old that they keep emailing me saying you need to upgrade this, and I'm thinking to myself, why? It's worked so far. Mm-hmm. And I read an article recently where some security experts claim that, they would tell you not to do things like the name of your favorite pet or something like that, and a random string of numbers and stuff. Well, now they're kind of changing their philosophy, and they're thinking that highly personal details with some numbers and figures might actually be harder to break than a random string of stuff. So we're going to give you 2 websites to check this out. The first one is called Have I Been Pawned? PAWNED, PWNED. And it's basically a pawned is a term for like, has your credentials been stolen or something? You plug in the email address you want to check, you click the button, PWNED to the side, and it will tell you how many breaches or how many websites were broached that then they grabbed your email and possible password from. If your password says encrypted next to the site or your email address, that means there's a high likelihood that people will not be able to unencrypt it to match it to the to your username or your thing. The other site, my personal favorite one, which Tim just used before we came on, is called, it's by Avast. So this is called, it's avast.com. Avast.com. Has my password been stolen? You plug your email in, you say check now. It doesn't tell you, or does it tell you, Tim, when you did it tell you on the screen right away?
Yeah,
and then it sent you the email, right?
Right, it sent it to you, and I got it within seconds. Yeah, it'll tell you. It'll tell you if you've been breached, and then it says check your email of the one that you signed in with.
Yeah, so this one, the Avast, avast.com, it sent me a note saying that my email and password were available across, or if they had been stolen from 6 different sites. One of them was Adobe from years ago. One was Dropbox from, I want to say it was 7 or 8 years ago. Long time have I changed that password. The one that I laughed at was Bonobos, because it brought up a whole memory of me of returning those pants constantly because they didn't fit me in the thighs.
What were you so tuned up about getting those Bonobos pants for anyway?
I thought they were going to be the magical pants. I thought they were going to frame my body perfectly. And
oh, please. I mean, how many times did you return them?
I returned them every time, and I never kept a pair. So
that was because of Ben and Dave, wasn't it? The Ben and Dave 6-pack. They had a Bonobo sponsorship. You thought these were going to be your magical pants.
Yeah.
And they didn't fit you.
They never fit my thighs. And I called up the woman one day, or the customer service, and she's like, "Well, where's the fit problem?" I said, "Well, I'm a cyclist. You know, I have big legs, my thighs." And yeah, click, click, click. Here's a return label. No one cares. They just want the pants back, right? So this was just something that caught my eye, and I thought it would be good to relay to everybody to check stuff out. So it's avast.com, avast.com, and the other one is Have I Been Pawned, PWNED.com. We'll probably post a link to this over on our YouTube channel. Maybe we will put it on Facebook as well, to the article, so you have both of those email addresses. I kind of found it reassuring because once I looked at, Bonobos leaked it. Okay, no, it's an old password. I'm not going to use that anymore. I felt a little reassured.
You know where else I think we'll put it, John? On our new page on LinkedIn, our Triberry page.
That's a good one, actually. That's a good one. And thank you for bringing that up, Tim. We have a brand new company page over on LinkedIn, along with a new website called triberry.co, C-O for company. All right, what else we got coming up here? This article that I teased at the beginning of the whole show. Can you guess the most unfriendly state in the United States? Okay. We did a piece about this using this same group's data. Tim, it was a week or two ago. It was the most litigious or the most dangerous. Remember that where they compiled all this data?
Right.
This is the same bunch. And so what they did is they looked at census data, violent crime rate, rankings from travel sites. So, let's say you go to a city or a state and you don't like your visit, or you leave something like that. And then they use census data, as I mentioned. So they
looked at the amount of volunteering too, which I thought was weird.
Yeah. So you read my mind on this completely. So you and I probably read this, and you're like, because Tim is very good with data, and it comes from his corporate background as well, where he always was, I like what I'm seeing, but there may be more to the story. So they rank the states. They don't bother telling you the ones at the bottom, because those will be the friendliest, because they're not they're not the unfriendliest, right? And here's the ranking of the top 10. Why don't you start off, Tim, with what?
Well, before we do the unfriendly states, and so and I was surprised. I guess everybody will be surprised. But if I said to you, and before you looked at this list, if I said to you, you and I have driven cross country and driven to a lot of states. I think we saw through Volkswagen. I think what did we go to 38 states or something we've driven through. Of the states that we have just gone through when we did our drives with Volkswagen, or just that you visited on your own, if I was to ask you, what was do you think, could you say to yourself, was there a state that you have in mind that would be the friendliest?
The friendliest or the unfriendliest?
Or either or, a place that you think you've been, an experience you've had, or places you've been where you would say it was the friendliest people or the most friendly state.
The weird thing is, on all our trips, we had mostly, if not great experiences everywhere, right?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you would have a thought of friendliest or unfriendly.
Where did we go to have Cracker Barrel for lunch one day? Was that
Kentucky.
All right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was the only part of our trip where I was like,
Yeah.
I hope I'm not being. I don't want to insult anybody, but
No, it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that. I would agree with that. I would say over the years, if I was to, and no particular reasons, I would say for me of unfriendly, I would say Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Okay.
I've never had a good feeling of Rhode Island. I'd gone on vacation there once, and it was just miserable. And it might have been for a number of reasons, but it was just miserable. So and the people were miserable. It was in Newport, Rhode Island. It was miserable. So I'll say
that's
Rhode
three
Island
miserables in a row, folks. That's bad.
In terms of friendly, and I'll say this based on I didn't know anybody there, and I lived there, and I had moved there and had no expectations. And I would say in terms of people being friendly and open and accepting, and do you know what I'm going to say?
You're going to say Oregon? Or are you
No.
going to say Minneapolis? You're going to be in the Minneapolis
Minnesota.
area? Minnesota, okay.
Minnesota was by far the people, and the Oregonians were very friendly too, but I will say the people from Minnesota were wonderful, just absolutely wonderful, hands down, just wonderful people and nice and welcoming to their homes. And if they knew you were alone on a Sunday for, without a meal or something, or I remember I was alone on a Memorial Day or something, and they, insisting on coming to a picnic at their house or do something. And just all very, very just kind of Midwest nice. It was just a very nice, I thought, a very welcoming place.
You have said that about that state a number of times, that you really always just felt like, wow, this is so nice. By the way, I lost all my savings. Oh, here, take ours.
And the funny thing was I didn't live there that long. And even when I left, the people that I had met threw a wonderful party for me, which I thought was quite nice. It was a very, very nice place. It kind of, the whole Minnesota nice.
Mm-hmm.
And people were just very, very pleasant. Other than that, I would say when we traveled, I was trying to think of places where we were that we felt were nice. I was trying to think if there was one place that stuck out where we visited.
Oklahoma City.
We liked Missouri a little bit.
We did like
enjoyed
Missouri. We liked Oklahoma. Didn't we like Oklahoma City? Was super friendly. That amazing hotel we stayed at. And then we went to have dinner at this cute little place. It was like a
hamburger place.
And Tim, we walked in. We weren't sure we were going to eat there. And we walked in, and Tim goes, "Oh boy, we're staying." And projected on the wall behind me, which I didn't see when I walked in, was Star Wars. They were playing the movie Star Wars. And Tim's like, "We ain't leaving." He even said it to the waiter, and the waiter's like, "Oh yeah, everybody loves Star Wars." So,
yeah, there was that. The place in Missouri was quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel and the place we went out to eat, the Missouri thing, was quite nice. But no, even we had gone to Ohio. I mean, we had a lot of good experiences. One of my favorite experiences with you was when we were in Marietta, Ohio, at the Busy Bee, and it was dead quiet. We're having that breakfast in the morning. You were kind of loud. It was dead quiet in there, and Marietta is very rural. Kind of,
I know the story. I love this story.
I went to college, and the two old men sitting there with
reading the paper.
And you're eating there, and you're laughing. That's where you went to college, huh? And you're looking around. The two old men are sitting there and reading the paper, and the one goes, Anderson Cooper's gay. Really loud, and the whole place looking, and you and I are like, oh, my God. And the other old guy's like, what? Anderson Cooper's gay. So the guy's like, who? The one with the white hair on CNN? And the other old guy doesn't miss a beat. Well, who didn't know that? But apparently that was the headline in the newspaper.
It was.
You and I are dying. We're like, oh my God. I mean, you couldn't write it, right? I mean, it was right out of Central Casting. You busted up laughing.
It was. Tim's not kidding. Tim is not kidding. Marietta was a gorgeous little town. The minute we pulled up there, and I saw where Tim went to college, because I'd never actually seen where he went to school. When I saw where he went to school, I was blown away. It's a beautiful campus. It's and the boathouse, and everything was just so picture perfect, like a postcard. And then to have this happen at the Busy Bee, to have these two old guys do something so totally Eastern Seaboard, like New York, right? Did you hear that? Did you hear that Andy Cohen's gay? Did you just get the news? Something like that. It was very funny. And then we left there and we learned Chinese in West Virginia on our way to the next state. Ni hao. Yeah, Tim, we were going to learn Chinese on that trip.
Yeah, that didn't happen,
that didn't
unfortunately.
Work. Yeah. So let's do.
Liked it. So anyway, let's get back to the top 10 most unfriendly states. So John, what was why don't you start with number 10 and go down? So these are the most unfriendly states going
from 10 to 1
down to number 1. So what was
from
number 10?
friendlier to nastier, I suppose. Surprise, surprise, Rhode Island. And this is something that Tim had felt and had experienced in Newport, but Rhode Island is the 10th unfriendliest state in the country, according to Best Life and the metrics they use to compile this. So again, numbers can be funny. What's the next one?
The next one was Alabama, a state that I've been just to the northern part of Alabama very briefly for a rowing event. And I don't really have much to say about Alabama, but the people I met were nice, but I don't have much to say about it. So Alabama came in number 9.
8 was New Jersey. I puzzled about that. I mean, I know a lot of people make fun of Jersey for a variety of reasons, but I never really thought of it as being unfriendly. I've never had an unfriendly problem there, so there you go.
You got to know it to get it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's one of those things. Yeah. It's like Seinfeld. You have to get, you have to know it to get it. And again, we'll post these to our Facebook page, which is Focus Group Radio. So what was number 7?
Well, that's close to our heart, my friend.
Number 7 is where we grew up, Connecticut.
Part of me can see this a little bit. Maybe do you see it a little bit as well?
Yeah.
You can't get there from here. It's kind of,
Connecticut.
This next one is a puzzler to me. Alaska.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't know anything about Alaska. I can see them being standoffish.
Welcome to Fairbanks. The Kodiak Bears to the left and the bars to the right. I don't know how that works. Number 5 is something you would be able to talk about. So what was 5?
Number 5, West Virginia. I wouldn't say, where I went to school in Ohio we used to spend a lot of time in West Virginia. People that I've encountered and that I'd gone to school with, very nice people. But West Virginia came in number 5.
Number 4 is Michigan. I don't have anything to say about this except everybody that I know personally from Michigan, families and friends, are all fantastic people. So I don't get how it's unfriendly, but that's me.
Number 3, poor John.
New York.
You're in an unfriendly state. Number 3, New York.
People misinterpret New Yorkers. We're very efficient. Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to muck around. But I will tell you this: every time
you call yourself a New Yorker now?
Oh, you bet. And every time I've traveled, when we were traveling before the event, I remember on a plane once I was sitting next to someone and I was giving them all this advice or help or something, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I said, "New York State." Really? I always thought New Yorkers were the nastiest people, but everybody I meet from New York is super nice. So I think we get a bad rap. What's number 2?
Number 2, we'll both agree with Arkansas. We know people from Arkansas. They're nasty. They don't pay their bills.
We do, and they don't. Tim, isn't that a weird thing that they don't pay their bills?
And then number 1
is New Mexico.
New Mexico, of all places.
Where was that place we stayed that had been recommended, and it was
New Mexico.
Oh yeah, that's Tim and I, this road trip. I go down for breakfast to this place, and I'm
moldy bread.
The breakfast was supposed to be the best thing in the world. I'm bending down to pet the cat. There's some guy standing behind me, and Tim goes, "Stand up, stand up, stand up. We gotta go." And then we get outside, and I go, "Tim, I was playing with the kitty." He goes, "That guy was looking down your pants at your crap."
Yeah, that was the worst place we ever stayed.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Let us move on.
So we'll post that along with a link.
But the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
We'll post it. Yeah. Sorry I hit that beforehand.
No, that's okay. Business birthday, because we're on a clock now. Jan Koum. Jan Koum was born today, February 24th, 1976. He's 45. Ukrainian-American billionaire entrepreneur and computer programmer, co-founder of the app WhatsApp. You know why it's called WhatsApp?
Why is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because when he thought about it with a buddy, they were talking about it, and they wanted to do this messaging app, and they wanted to call it What's Up. It's kind of like What's
I
Up,
bet
so
they
it
couldn't
became
get that.
WhatsApp.
What's up, Doc? Right? They couldn't get that.
So he had left the former, he born and raised in Ukraine. His mom and grandmother left and emigrated to the U.S. and father never came. And he'd gone to college when he was 18, got a job at Ernst & Young, met this kid named Brian Acton. They both got jobs at Yahoo, and kept trying to get jobs at Facebook. Facebook wouldn't hire them, so they ended up going to play ultimate frisbee. They said, and went touring around South America. And when they left their jobs at Yahoo, and then came back and applied again at Facebook, didn't get jobs, bought an iPhone, 2009, and found out that there was going to be this app store was going to release some of these new apps and so forth. And we're talking with friends and came up with the idea of this WhatsApp on February 24th, he said, 2009, on his birthday. And it was initially unpopular. And they had a number of issues, so he convinced his friend Brian Acton to do this with him and raise some money. And eventually, they raised enough money to launch this product. They had at one time 450 million, up to 1 billion users worldwide. They had some issues with it crashing with the messaging part of it. But lo and behold, in 2014, Mr. Zuckerberg came calling and wanted to talk to them, asked them to have dinner, and proposed a deal for them to join the Facebook board. 10 years later, Facebook announced that it was acquiring WhatsApp for $19 billion. And WhatsApp became the most popular messaging app in 2016. And Mr. Coombe had joined there in 2016. He ended up selling $2.4 billion worth of his Facebook stock. Wow. He became one of the wealthiest Americans at a young age, entered the Forbes list in the top 50 of wealthy Americans. Blah, blah, blah.
I'll just say that. Let's say that.
You and I, another thing we missed.
But WhatsApp's popularity also comes down to the fact that it's encrypted messaging, which is unlike other platforms. I think that's important.
Yeah. So anyway, happy birthday to
Indeed.
To Jan Koum. And so there you go. There was a bunch of birthdays today. Steve Jobs, Phil Knight from Nike, Steve Jobs from Apple, but we haven't done Jan Koum. So
I like this one. Yeah.
The billionaire founder of WhatsApp. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Head over to focusgroupradio.com and find out more about us. And be sure everyone has a great week. Remember to mask up and take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the new week. Take care.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.